bit too many references in this movie. Most of them were to the first movie, though. There was reference to Glenn's death when she falls through the ceiling and you see blood go to the ceiling. There's even a reference to Nancy's mom death because the ending of the movie is Nancy's mom dies in the original one. And the exact same thing happens to Nancy in this movie. Even though, as far as I know, it's a different Nancy. They just gave her the same name for whatever stupid reason. But yeah, Nancy's mom dies in the end of the movie, just like Nancy's mom dies in the end of the original one. And there's only one, actually there's two references to two different movies. There's like at least 10, maybe more references to the first movie, but there's two of them that aren't. There's one that's a reference to the fourth movie. When Joey's death, when Robert Englund kills him, he says, "Now that's what I call a wet dream." When Nancy's drowning in blood, he says the exact same thing. And then I think it's in Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy tells the one girl, "You may say no, but I say yes, yes." And then he starts messing with her dress. The same thing happens in this one. But he says your mouth may say no, but your body says yes. So that's a bit weird one to reference. And honestly, there was a lot of shitty things about this movie that I didn't like. But it's also the most entertaining one out of the series. And probably my favorite one. But there's a lot of stupid stuff that makes zero sense. One of the girls falls asleep at a funeral. And then the one kid, Quentin, falls asleep swimming. They had something like that where a girl fell asleep in a hot tub, but you don't have to be active to sit in a hot tub. He's swimming. How is he going to fall asleep during that? It's different than laying down and watching a movie or playing video games. How do you fall asleep swimming? There is also a very stupid thing that a lot of horror movies do. It only happens once in this movie, but once is more than enough. In horror movies, in newer ones anyway, they try and go, ooh, scary, by a character will be followed by someone. They'll turn around and nobody's there. Well, that happens in the beginning of the movie when Dean falls asleep in the cafe. And honestly, I thought this guy was better than Robert Englund. Don't get me wrong, he's iconic and he has that charisma. But this guy was so creepy, and his laugh was better. Robert Englund will always be the voice that I think of when I think of Freddy Kreuguer. But this guy was just amazing as Freddy. Jackie was just really good. That's his name, by the way. Jackie is the actor that plays him. Can't remember his last name right now, though. And there was quite a few other stupid things. They introduced the micro naps in this, which I get. It's a real thing in real life. But it's kind of stupid because they introduce it when there's about 30 minutes left in the movie, but it only happens 4 times. And I thought, even though Freddy has gotten his ass beat plenty of times in embarrassing ways, this is probably the most embarrassing one. And it made zero sense. Freddy has been dominating in this movie. He kills everybody if he wants to, and if he doesn't, he just screws with you. At one point, it's even shown that he doesn't want to kill them at some points. When the one girl falls asleep, he cuts her hair and says, hey. Oh no, not that part. He cuts Nancy while she's in the store, because she falls asleep while she's walking in the store for some reason. Anyway, he cuts her and he's like, hey, you're bleeding, you better wake up. Like, he's just screwing with him. He is playing these games. He knows what he's doing. Yet, he dies in literally 1 minute when he gets brought into the real world. He gets distracted by Quentin, so he gets his hand cut off. And then he immediately loses. Even though in Freddy vs. Jason, he got his whole arm cut off and was still fighting. And, let's, not forget the fact that he's gotten his hand cut off when he's been brought to the real world before, because I think it was in number 4, maybe 5, when he's fighting, I think, Alice. The only ones I remember are Alice, Nancy, Chris, and Tina from the series. I can't really remember any of the other actors' names. Anyway, he gets his hand cut off and he's still fighting. He's like, hey, I don't even need that. I killed your mom with my bare hands. No, that's number 6, actually. And then he starts choking her. So I don't know how he lost so easily. He just gets his hand cut off and then killed. And that's kind of a reference to what happened in the 6th movie, since he gets his head blown off. But yeah, this would be probably the most entertaining one. And Jackie is, I don't know, I just really liked him better than Robert Englund, though. I'll always think of Robert Englund because he was just iconic. I watched him for 8 movies in a row. There's no way I'm not gonna think about him when I think of Freddy Kreuger. But Jackie was just really good, and he played him way more creepy. Because Freddy was kind of goofy in the movies, even before 6 and 5. Because 6 and 5 he got really goofy, and he just sucked. And they fixed that in Freddy vs. Jason. So at least Robert Englund went out on a high note. But yeah, I think he was way better in this and way creepier. Because he had his moments of being creepy throughout the series, through 1 through 4, but he never was, like, always creepy. Like, oh, well, he's kind of creepy here, and then for the rest of the movie, you might have a tiny moment where he's kind of creepy. It's supposed to be a horror movie, not a horror comedy. I want to get scared. But Robert Englund was just kind of funny and a bit of a likable character, besides the fact that, they hinted at pedophilia quite a few times. Which it's not hinted at here, it's just straight up said. And at the same time, it kind of wasn't hinted in the Robert Englund one, since he was, licking teenagers and stuff. And there was that one scene in Freddy vs. Jason where a girl straight up says he likes kids, so yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, even though there's a lot of stupid stuff. And a character also, like, I don't know why he just completely disappears from this movie. Because the movie starts off in the cafe, and later we see, Quentin, that one guy, Jesse, and then there's an unknown guy with him. It's 3 friends. We later see Jesse get killed, and we find out he's, like, Nancy's ex-boyfriend. No, not Nancy, Chris. And, we don't really find out anything about the other guy. And Quentin was obviously in the final act of the movie. Speaking of Chris, there was actually something really unique in this movie. Even though a lot of it was just borrowed or stole from the other movies anyway. Though it's technically not really stealing, since, it's from their own universe. Anyway, there was one thing that I thought was really unique, since they never really did anything about it. The only time we had an animal in this series was Kim Kang's dog, Jason, in number 4, but he never died. In this one, we actually get a dog death, I'm pretty sure it wasn't just a dream. Um, I think the dog fell asleep and Freddy killed him. And then later, Chris saw him dead, which I thought was pretty cool. That he can go into like dogs' dreams and stuff. That was a pretty unique thing to do. But yeah, that's about it. This movie could have been way better if they didn't, borrow from the other movies every 2 seconds, because they just felt the need to reference everything. Some of the references were kind of half-assed. Like there's a reference to the bathtub scene where Nancy falls asleep in the bathtub, and they don't even finish the scene. The bathtub scene in the original, Freddy is about to get her, but he doesn't, because she wakes up when the mom knocks on the door. They do the exact same thing in this movie. He's about to get her, but she knocks on the door, and it wakes her up. And then Freddy comes back up because she falls asleep again. Well, she falls asleep again, but Freddy doesn't come back up because he just wants to screw with her, and he doesn't even, bring back the iconic scene where she gets, drowned in the sea even though she's in the bathtub because, she's dreaming, so he's changing everything because it's his world. And then there's also the scene with that one girl that got killed in the first movie and that was dragged in a body bag. There's a reference to that, though they don't even finish it. But it's just used as one of the micro naps things. But yeah, this movie could have been way better. Though this is honestly my favorite one out of the series.